This really, let me just say that right up front. This is for the Hebrew Israelite nation, which I do represent as well. Um, we're going to do a Knicks video in about an hour, Knicks Live, but it's Sunday, November the 6th, 2022. I wanted to update the latest thing I saw regarding our brother, Kyrie Irving. There is a difference when somebody takes a stand for truth and, there's some criticism and that's it. There's a difference when it costs you, okay? It's different when it costs you. And this, to me, is a litmus test of Kyrie's sincerity in terms of the truth. So let me begin by just saying this is not going to be a long live video. As I did this impromptu, as I did last Sunday. What's good, y'all? But we're going to be on, like I said, in about an hour. But let me just say up front, I believe Kyrie is going to pass the test. But again, let me explain very clearly. Since black people in the United States of America were quote unquote set free by the Emancipation Proclamation, although we know it wasn't total freedom for us and still isn't. Since that time, though, the biggest moneymaker for the freed slaves has been entertainment. And the reason it's been the biggest moneymaker, in my view, is twofold. Number one, we are the most talented people. Number two, our enemies even appreciate the art we produce. Okay, so again, I bring up Jack Johnson as an example. Jack Johnson was hated by the Caucasian community in America. He was hated. But because of the value of the entertainment he brought forth in boxing, he was tolerated somewhat. He still ended up being chased out of the country, being arrested, all that. But he was tolerated because of the big gates he would provide in terms of entertainment value. So that has been pretty much the theme in the United States ever since. The sports have changed. You still have boxing, but you're dealing with now, when the Ashkenazis set up Hollywood, which you're talking about Goldwyn and others that set up Hollywood, they didn't allow black people on that big silver screen for the most part. You had to have independent black entrepreneurial producers of movies for us to get on the silver screen. But eventually they did allow it. And you had breakthrough moments, breakthrough situations with a Sidney Poitier, with a Harry Belafonte, and so on, that broke through to bring us to the big screen on a major level. Then, of course, you now spread into other sports. Now, sports is entertainment. The ESPN stands for Entertainment and Sports Network, and that's what sports are. It's a form of entertainment. And so when you have a form of entertainment, it's closely aligned, in my view, with a form of art. Art in itself is a beauty, but it's entertainment, see? People get inspired, people get excited, people get emotional about art. Well, it's obvious that people do the same thing about sports. They get inspired, they get emotional. It's very big time. So with that in mind, you started seeing African Americans get into that avenue, and you still do, because that was their way to not only survive, but to thrive and to actually get ahead in this Eurocentric community of America that we were in. So you have, that's been happening. Now, you had to have a certain language that you speak to, because now you're in entertainment, right? So you got a certain language you got to speak to the American media. Okay. And that language has got to be, it can't be completely anti-black, but it's got to be pro-white. Got to be. So that you had a Joe Louis being promoted as a great American and what they would call a credit to his race, because he was so pro-American that he would sign up for the army in World War II and go and do exhibitions for free, although later the government penalized him for those free exhibitions to the point where he had to come back past his prime. And why? So that he could get beat by the white hope, which was Rocky Marciano. When Joe Louis was past his prime, in my particular view, if Marciano would have met Joe Louis, let's say in 1947, he would have got destroyed. But Joe Louis had to come back because of the taxes that this great American society put on him. But that was the litmus. So in other words, you had to have a pro-American, pro-red, white, and blue stance when you were an athlete, because now you're using, as a black man, as a black woman, especially a black man at first, you're using this avenue to get ahead. You know, it's not just survival. Now you get hit. Joe Louis was a boxer. I mean, Sugar Ray Robinson, which considered, you know, I was not alive when he was actually boxing, but I saw multiple, you know, videos of his fights. Considered by many the greatest pound for pound boxer of all time in boxing, Sugar Ray Robinson said he preferred not to box. He said it was a barbaric exercise, but he was doing it to make money. See? Because we could not make money as accountants, as lawyers, as doctors, as teachers. We could not make money that way. That's if we were permitted, you know, without hindrance, to get educated. Okay, we were menial laborers. That's how we were. So in order to get ahead in this society, the freed slaves entered entertainment, and they fought hard to break in, because even there they were stopped. But starting with Jack Johnson, really, and then later going to a Jesse Owens and a Jim Thorpe, who was an Indian, the barriers were being broken on account. The reason the barriers were broken is because once the Caucasian race of people got used to us being entertainers in terms of entertaining them, they permitted us to enter into those ranks, and we got paid for entering into those ranks. Okay, baseball, football, basketball, boxing mostly. Okay, so you enter into these situations, you get paid, but there's a difference. Even though a Joe Louis would come into boxing and people love Joe Louis, even though a Jesse Owens would be a track and field star, even though a Jim Thorpe would be voted the greatest athlete of the first half century of the 20th century, you were still limited in public, but you were a little freer than the rest of your brethren, because when you're an entertainer, you are elevated to almost godship. But when you're an entertainer with brown skin, this is the message. You could entertain us. We'll pay you to entertain us. We'll pay you well above your brethren. But don't cross a line and offend us. Because if you offend us, we will end your entertainment career. That's the sub-message of all sports, especially in America, if you're black. Entertain us, but you better toe the company line. Because if you don't toe the company line, we'll take away this livelihood that has set you above all your brethren. So when Muhammad Ali came around, when he was first Cassius Clay, and it was found out actually before the Liston fight that he had been studying Islam with Malcolm X and with the Nation of Islam. That was out. In fact, it was out to the point where they were thinking about canceling the fight in 1964. They didn't cancel it for two reasons. The Caucasian media was big into this fight. A lot of money was on the line here. In terms of gambling money, big money was on the line, number one. Number two, they wanted to see it. They wanted to see this Louisville Lip get his jaw broke by Sonny Liston. So for those two reasons, those overrode his religious stance. That wasn't public at that time. It was known, but it wasn't public. So he fought the fight. And in fact, when you go back and understand and look, he was a heavy underdog. I think he was like a 7-1 underdog to Liston. But he won. To me, that's the greatest fight that ever took place in the history of boxing. The reason I say that is because of how he talked before, the strategy, the psychology, the high level of IQ intelligence that it took to make that strategy before anybody else came up with it. And then he just executed and won the fight handily, okay? So then that platform allowed Cassius Clay to announce that he was now Muhammad Ali. Now, I'm not talking about Islamic religion. What I'm saying here is that he went against the narrative that the ex-slave entertainer was supposed to keep. He went against the narrative that the ex-slave entertainer, which what he was supposed to keep. But because he just beat the best in the world in Sonny Liston, who many thought was unbeatable, he just beat him and beat him handily, beat him bad. They couldn't do nothing about it. So now, in order to stop him, and he was loud, he was saying he was the greatest, and he was proving it by basically prophesying of what round he would destroy his opponents in. And mostly, he was correct. So they had to do something about that. So what they did, they took away his ability to box because he wouldn't join an unjust, immoral, corporate-sponsored war in Vietnam. You see, nowadays we got the ability to look back like Monday Morning Quarterback and see what the issues were. Okay? Then we didn't have that. So the American public was completely, especially the Caucasian public, which is the loudest public because they got the most numbers, they was basically totally with that war. The only ones was against it was the Caucasian boys that was afraid of getting drafted. It had nothing to do with whether the war was just or not. They was afraid of getting drafted. But Muhammad Ali brought out the immorality of the war. And for that, they took away the best years of his boxing career, his prime years. They took away. Okay? Today, we have athletes getting paid money that is beyond the dreams of a Muhammad Ali, beyond the dreams of a Jesse Owens, beyond the dreams of anybody that could imagine. The amount of money that's in pro sports today, which is it's a function of the gambling money, that's in it. The sales, obviously, of the tickets, but the sales of the tickets are the lowest rung, in my opinion. You're dealing with the television money. You're dealing with the cable money. You're dealing with the gambling money that's in sports now. And because of that, the NBA, for example, the Players Association is able to negotiate higher amounts of money for the players because this entertainment business has become serious business. Okay, serious business. So because of that now, the players and the athletes, the artists, if you will, are making way more money than we could ever imagine. Now, the truth is, those athletes, the Kyrie Irvings, the Kevin Durants in basketball and LeBron Jameses, the in football, I don't know who the brothers are that make it. I don't follow football that much, but football. And then you got, of course, the track athletes making their money, the baseball athletes making their money. Even the Dominicans who in baseball make a lot of money. But you know what? Some of them don't want to admit that they brown. But it's all good. They still getting paid. The line is the same, though. In other words, we'll pay you. We'll pay you far above anything your brethren or even Caucasians can even make. We'll pay you. But you got to toe the company line. You cannot go against the corporate sponsored line that we want to give you. You cannot go against that. Now, to speak about the Bible in the Hebrew Israelite sense, without going into great detail, is to go against the company line on several levels. Two major levels is it exposes first the Eurocentric culture as guilty. And secondly, it exposes the Ashkenazi Judaism. If they are just doing more than practicing a religion, if they are proclaiming themselves as bloodline Hebrews, this would be a bad message for them because it exposes that as a falsehood. So therefore, you can't do that because the corporate sponsorship, the controllers, the handlers of the media are these people, the Eurocentric people and the Ashkenazi Jews. Between the two of them, they control the media. Therefore, they're controlling the paychecks of guys like Kyrie Irving. Okay? Now, it's unrealistic. It's completely unrealistic for any Hebrew Israelite to think that they're just going to allow this message. Therefore, brothers like Kyrie Irving have a choice to make. They have a choice to make. They can decide on the money, or they can decide on their conviction. That's the choice right here. I'm not even dealing with Kyrie Irving's message or in terms of what he spoke in the media as anti-Semitism, because personally, I don't believe it's anti-Semitism. I spoke about that a week ago on a short video. It's not anti-Semitism, because to proclaim that Kyrie Irving is anti-Semitic is to say he's speaking against himself. Let me just be plain. Kyrie Irving is saying he's Semitic as a Hebrew Israelite. All Hebrew Israelites recognize themselves as Semitic. So to proclaim us as anti-Semitic is a falsehood. It's misnomer. It's foolish. We're not speaking against ourselves. Okay, so it's not anti-Semitic, but Kyrie has a decision to make, and it's not just Kyrie. First of all, I want to applaud Kyrie Irving. I want to just exalt and implore this brother because he's on the big stage, he's making a lot of money, and he's speaking his mind. He's going against the corporate sponsorship the same way Muhammad Ali did. He's doing that. So what prompted this video today is I just read in the Google, I was just going through my Google and my YouTube, and now he just lost or suspended the Nike sponsorship. Listen, man, I'm not going to speak negative of the brothers that fold, man. Look. What you saying is Joe Louis, for example, could go hungry and live in a hut somewhere in Detroit, or he can make six figures in 1940s and live above anything he ever made. Pearl Bailey said, I've tried poor and now I tried rich, and rich is better. So I could not blame the Hebrews coming out of slavery and getting paid. in this corporate society. I can't believe. I can't say it's morally right, but it's not for me to say it's morally right. You know why, brothers and sisters? We don't know what it's like to be making 10, 20, 30 million in a year after you grew up eating crumbs. We don't know what that's like, so I can't speak on it. But I do say this. We got to pray for Brother Kyrie. That's what I will say. Because Brother Kyrie is speaking the truth. According to his conscience, he's speaking the truth. And you can't do no higher than your conscience. It's not about the knowledge you have all the time. Sometimes it's about the conscience. Brother Kyrie is speaking according to his conscience, the truth. It just so happens that that truth goes against his corporate sponsors. So my understanding from what I read is now that Nike cut him off. Nike's costing him $11 million a year. Now the Nets suspending him 5 games with no pay. On the brother, that's probably like a 2-week paycheck. That's probably before taxes something like $3 million. So he's losing at this point something like $14 million, and it's liable to get higher. Now some of us might say, "Damn, if I got 1 month of Kyrie's paycheck, I'm set." Yes, that's true. But you got to understand, you don't know what it's like to be paid that payment for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Because you know what? You start to go to a certain lifestyle, and that's the plan. That's the plan. Nat King Cole started making all kind of money in the 1950s because that brother could croon, right? He was causing Caucasian women to swoon. Okay? He had white people playing this music when they was trying to get intimate with their woman. Okay? So he was making all kind of money, and he decided to buy a house in a Caucasian-dominated section of Los Angeles, and they burned a cross on the brother's lawn to remind him of who he was. Okay? So what I'm saying to you is they will continue to use that. They will continue to make examples of us. But let me say this to you, though. I told y'all, the awakening has begun, man. It's out the bag. Every athlete / entertainer is going to have to make a statement. Most of them, and the majority of them, are going to choose the money. I mean, wouldn't you? Majority of them going to choose the money. I'm not going to judge the brothers based on that. Because I ain't made that kind of money. I don't know nothing about that. But there's going to be brothers like Kyrie. They're going to count the cost and say, okay, I'm going to lose $11 million a year from Nike. I could lose $30 million a year from the Nets. I'm standing for the truth anyway. According to what I read in the King James Bible, Father Yah smiles on such ones greatly because they're choosing the truth and righteousness above money. Bless Kyrie. Pray for the brother. Pray for the brother that he stays strong. Pray for the brother. He going to be all right. See, those of us that are in the know of the truth, we know Father Yah going to take care of him because he take care of all us poor. he take care of all us poor Hebrews. So he going to take care of Kyrie. But Kyrie got to, he got to believe that. He got to believe that for himself. He got to know that for himself. So pray for Kyrie. It ain't easy for the brother to step down from $41 million a year. $41 million. US dollars, greenbacks, dividends, stepping down to step up to the truth. I was listening to a YouTube video about Reggie White today. The former football player died at age 43 from a heart attack, awakened to the truth. I was just rejoicing in my house. My wife went out and I was rejoicing in this house all by myself, just rejoicing because that brother came to the truth, man. So Iman Bakash, good to see you, brother. I've been worried about you, man. For real. I was calling our brother Ruel about you just yesterday. Did you get my message, man? Return the brother's call or something, so let me know you okay. Anyway. Yeah. Pray for Kyrie. Now Nike stepping up against them. You start to know. The test comes when they start taking all that money from you. When they start taking it from you, and you still standing for truth. I don't care what the media says about them after that. The brotherhood in the Hebrew community. Now this is the thing. They don't even realize there's a Hebrew community. They don't even realize. See, the media and the Caucasian, unfortunately, the Eurocentric culture thinks when they think of Hebrew Israelites, they think of some brothers on the corner with their costumes on yelling at them. Bless them brothers. But that ain't the whole community. That ain't even the majority of the community. The majority of the community is reading the Bible and coming to a knowledge of the truth on their own. Okay? That's the majority of the community. Okay? Period. They don't know that though, because you see, they looking at people like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton as if they represent us. They plan fail. They plan fail. They don't represent us. You know who represents us? Father Yahweh. Father Yah represents us. And his son, the appointed prophet, priest, and king, represents us. The Lion of the tribe of Judah represents us. You see? They won't understand that because they carnal. But it's all good. It's all good. The awakening will not be stopped. It's going forward. Pray for Brother Kyrie. You got to stand strong. And this is a hard situation for the young brother. Pray for him. Brothers and sisters in the Israelite nation, pray for him. Because he's standing for the truth. Okay? That's all I wanted to say today. I'll see y'all, a little while when we get ready to talk some Knicks. This is different. This ain't Knicks right here. This is different. Okay? I'll see you in a little while. Peace and blessings upon you. Shalom, my brothers and my sisters.